600 men, one valley, cannons on three sides. An officer turns to the man beside him and says, "Here goes the last of the Brudenells." He thinks he is about to die. He is right about one thing, he is wrong about who dies. This is not a story about courage. Courage was never the problem. This is a story about 11 words, and how those 11 words destroyed the finest cavalry in the British Empire. The year is 1854. Britain is at war with Russia for the first time in a generation. The battlefield is Crimea, a peninsula on the northern edge of the Black Sea that almost nobody in London could find on a map. The British Army arrives expecting a short, glorious campaign. What they get is mud, cholera, and a command structure built on aristocratic privilege rather than military competence. Lord Raglan commands the whole operation. He is 65 years old. He lost his right arm at Waterloo nearly 40 years earlier and still occasionally refers to the enemy as the French, who are, in this war, his allies. His orders are famously vague. His communication style is catastrophically indirect. He is a man better suited to a different century, commanding an army that has not fought a major war in nearly 40 years. Below him sits Lord Lucan, commanding the cavalry. Cold, rigid, deeply unpopular with his own men. His nickname is Lord Look On, because his troops believe he keeps them out of every fight that matters. He purchased his command for a sum that would today equal several million pounds. Military talent was not part of the transaction, and below, Lucan sits Lord Cardigan, commanding the Light Brigade specifically. Cardigan and Lucan are brothers-in-law. They hate each other with the focused intensity of men who have spent decades in close proximity and found nothing to respect. During the campaign, they anchor on separate ships in the same harbor to avoid having to speak. Cardigan sleeps aboard his private yacht while his men freeze in tents on shore. He sees nothing wrong with this. These are the three men who hold 600 lives in their hands. The stage is set. The egos are loaded. The only thing missing is a spark. On the 25th of October, 1854, the spark arrives. The Battle of Balaclava begins before sunrise. The ground is cold. The British camp is still waking up. Russian forces overrun a line of Ottoman-held redoubts on the Causeway Heights, a ridge running along the center of a wide, flat valley. They capture British naval guns positioned there. Then they stop and wait. Lord Raglan watches from a cliff above. He can see everything. The captured guns on the ridge, the Russian cavalry massing in the distance, the full shape of the battlefield below him like a map. His subordinates on the valley floor can see almost none of this. The ridge blocks their sight lines. They are effectively blind. Raglan wants the Light Brigade to advance and prevent the Russians from removing the captured guns. He writes the order himself and hands it to Captain Nolan for delivery. The order reads, "Lord Raglan wishes the cavalry to advance rapidly to the front, follow the enemy, and try to prevent the enemy carrying away the guns." Nolan rides hard down the cliffside and delivers the note to Lord Lucan. Lucan reads it, then reads it again. From where he stands, there are no guns visible except the Russian artillery massed at the far end of the valley, nearly 2 kilometers away, behind the full strength of the Russian army. He asks Nolan, "Which guns? Attack where?" Nolan is young, impatient, and has spent months watching the cavalry sit idle while infantry did the fighting. His contempt for Lucan is well documented. Now, face to face with the man, it surfaces. He flings his arm out in a sweeping gesture toward the valley. "There, my lord, is your enemy. There are your guns." It is the most expensive gesture in British military history. Lucan stares at the valley. He knows this is wrong. He knows it in his bones. No cavalry commander looks at 2 kilometers of open ground flanked by artillery on both sides and sees a viable attack. He knows what happens to horses in a crossfire. He knows what grape shot does to men in the open at that range. But questioning an order from the commanding general, in writing with a witness present, is a career-ending act. He cannot afford it. He rides to Cardigan. The 2 men look at each other. Junior officers nearby instinctively step back. Lucan delivers the order. Cardigan responds immediately. "Certainly, sir, but allow me to point out that the Russians have a battery in the valley in our front and batteries and riflemen on each flank." Lucan replies, "I know it, but Lord Raglan will have it. We have no choice but to obey." Cardigan nods once, turns his horse, rides to the front of the Light Brigade. 673 men form up behind him. It is 10 minutes past 11 in the morning. Cardigan draws his sword. Every man behind him can see the valley. Every man behind him knows what is waiting at the end of it. The Russian guns are visible. Black iron mouths pointed directly at them, patient as death. The brigade moves forward at a walk, then a trot, then a canter. Captain Nolan rides near the front. Within 30 seconds, something changes in his face. He suddenly understands. The order was never meant for this valley. It was meant for the ridge. He has sent 600 men in the wrong direction. He spurs his horse forward, screaming, trying to stop it. A Russian shell bursts beside him. The fragment tears through his chest. His horse carries him back through the advancing ranks, his body upright in the saddle, his mouth open in a scream eyewitnesses would describe for the rest of their lives. He is the first man to die in the charge he caused. He will receive no memorial. The Russian guns open fire. The first salvo hits the left flank. Horses and men vanish in smoke and dirt. Gaps open in the line. The men beside them close ranks instinctively. They have been trained to do this. It will not save them. Artillery fires from the left. Artillery fires from the right. The battery at the end of the valley fires directly into their faces. Every shot finds a target. French General Bosquet watches from above. It is magnificent, but it is not war. It is madness. And yet the brigade does not break. These men ride straight into the fire without wavering. Shells burst among them. Riders fall. Horses collapse at full gallop. The survivors vault over the bodies and keep riding. One officer takes a lance through the chest and keeps riding. Another has his horse shot from under him, gets up, and tries to continue on foot. A private watches the man beside him simply cease to exist, replaced by a column of smoke. They cover 2 kilometers in approximately 4 minutes. Inside those 4 minutes, over 100 men are killed or wounded. The ground behind them is carpeted with bodies the full length of the valley. Then, impossibly, the survivors reach the Russian battery. They crash through the gun line at full speed. They cut down the artillerymen with their sabers. For 60 seconds, the Light Brigade actually holds the position. They have ridden through hell and arrived still fighting. Then they look around. 200 men left. Behind the battery, thousands of fresh Russian cavalry formed and ready. No support coming from the British lines. Nothing. The order to retreat comes not from any officer, but from brutal reality. They turn their horses and ride back through everything they just survived. Same valley, same smoke, same ground, now covered in the bodies of men they rode past 20 minutes ago. They ride back through all of it. Some horses collapse mid-stride. Some men crawl on their hands and knees across ground still churned by artillery. One officer is dragged by his stirrup for 300 meters, already dead, his boot locked in place as his horse runs blind with terror. The Russian cavalry pursues from behind. The guns on both flanks fire for the second time into the same corridor, into what remains of the same men. 4 minutes forward, 4 minutes back. When it is over, Lord Cardigan rides calmly to his yacht in Balaclava harbor and eats dinner. He will later give interviews describing the charge as a magnificent display of British discipline. He is not entirely wrong. He is also not the one who was in it. 110 dead, 160 wounded, 375 horses gone. The captured guns on the ridge, the guns Raglan actually wanted, are never recovered. Raglan blames Lucan. Lucan blames Nolan. Nolan cannot defend himself. He is buried in the same valley where his gesture sent 600 men to die. His name appears in the official inquiry only as a footnote. Nobody is court-martialed. Nobody loses their commission or their title. The 3 men most responsible for the disaster continue their careers. Britain frames the charge as a display of extraordinary courage, which it was, and carefully avoids asking why courage was required in the first place. Alfred Lord Tennyson writes a poem within days of reading the newspaper account. The poem becomes one of the most famous in the English language. It contains the line, "Theirs not to reason why, theirs but to do and die." The poem becomes more famous than the mistake, and somewhere in that is the most disturbing part of the whole story.